Push Moments is a podcast series that brings you tips, tricks, insights, and interviews to help you gain clarity, overcome those limiting beliefs, and take control of your life.
Welcome to Push Moments, episode 37. And this is the final part of the four-part series about creating a new belief. I know it's been, about 2 months since the last episode dropped. I sincerely apologize for the delay. But let's do a brief recap, and in case you're just listening for the first time, you can actually catch up on what we are talking about. Listen to episode 35, 34, 35, and 36. So what happened? We started by highlighting the model of success, and I introduced you to the BAP framework, right? And where we said that for you to be successful in anything, all you have to do is to have the belief, the B in the BAP, the awareness, the A, and then the principles, right? But if you want to go deeper into what the BAP framework is about, I suggest you go and listen to episode 34. And then we talked about how belief is the most important element in this whole BAP framework. And I highlighted the 10 steps that you need to create a new belief. So I broke it down into two other episodes, right? And so I said in episode 35, we talked about steps 1 to 4. And what are those steps? The step 1 is you must have a burning desire. Step 2, when you see, you must act. Step 3 is to find your yes. Step 4 is don't negotiate with your dream, right? And then we moved on to episode 36, where I talked about step 5, which is be creative. Step 6, challenge your old belief. And step 7, take the first step. Now we'll dive into the last 3 steps. But here's the thing, right? So as I was preparing for this particular episode, I was listening to episode 36, just to sort of refresh my memory. And one of the examples I gave was, my need to grow my consulting business and put structure and, to get an office space. What I was talking about was how people negotiate with their dream. And, instead of me saying, I can't afford the different rents that I was seeing around, I decided to ask myself instead, how can I afford it? That was the question I was asking myself. But long story short, and I think that this is amazing coming at this time where I'm recording it. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, I'm recording this episode from my office space in a prime location in Wuse. And I'm not going to bore you with the details, but I just want you to know that not only am I a firm believer of what I teach, but I also practice all the principles that I'm also teaching, that I'm talking about on this podcast in my life as well. So I'm not some sort of person that will just want to read something in a book and could just come and pour it on you, But I want you to know that I also use these principles. And as I'm using these principles, I'm seeing as they're working. If they're working, I'll come back and I'll give you feedback. And if they're not working, I will definitely come back and give you feedback as well, right? So let's get back on track. Let's not get sidetracked, right? So the last 3 steps that, we're going to be talking about, right, in the 10 steps to creating a new belief, the last 3 steps. And I'm going to go, let me just break it down and tell you what the last 3 steps are. Step 8, right? We've talked about 1 to 7. So step 8 is the law of sacrifice. Step 9 is see yourself in possession of the perfection that you want to create in your life. And then step 10 is to celebrate victories along the way. So let me break it down and let me go deeper into it. The law of sacrifice. What does the law of sacrifice mean? It simply means that for you to get something, you have to be willing to give up something. So a lot of us, we want success, we want to have want to live an amazing life, want to do and have all the amazing things. But the problem is, do we really know what is required for us to get to that level of success that we want? Sometimes we don't even get to, that sacrifice is not there, right? So the law of sacrifice simply says that, you have to be able to give up one thing for you to be able to get something. So I'll give you an example. A lot of people say they don't have time, right? A lot of people say, oh, I don't have time. I wish I could read more. How do you read more? How do you get to work out? I don't have time. The honest truth is that we all have the same 24 hours, but what we choose to use our time is different. So for some people, they will say, okay, you know what, after work, I just want to relax and Netflix and chill. Listen, I don't have a problem with Netflix and chilling, right? I don't have a problem with that. However, do not complain about the results you're not getting for the work that you are not ready to put in. So if you want to be able to grow your business, you want to be able to grow your life, you want to be able to do and have things, you have to be able to sacrifice and set out time for those things that that you need. I'll give you an example. So back then, when I first started my career, when I had just finished when I graduated from university, one of the things that I realized was, for you to be successful, right? I think I read it somewhere. I can't remember where I read it, but I knew that for you to be successful, you needed three things. You needed, one, to have some sort of like legal background. So, because as you grow bigger in your career, you're going to meet a lot of contracts, a lot of stuff. So you needed a bit of legal background. Another thing that I realized was that you also needed the core competence of whatever industry you're working in. And then the third thing that I realized was you needed some sort of like management, tools and management ideology. So let me tell you what I did. Understanding that I needed that, I immediately sacrificed. What did I sacrifice? Do you know that from the time I graduated and from the time I started working, I have not spent my entire salary on myself? I've always had to pay school fees. So as soon as I finished NYC, I enrolled in, or rather during my NYC, just before I was rounding up, I enrolled in MSc Oil and Gas Law from the Robert Gordon University. Why? Because I wanted to work in oil and gas, and I needed the oil and gas legal background. So I did that. Then I now, moved on to, doing oil and gas operations and supply chain management. Then I now did an MBA. So those three things, I had gotten them. How was I able to do it? I had to sacrifice. There were times when I just wanted to relax. There were times when my friends were buying new cars and buying all sorts of things, but I didn't. I was just pouring myself into that. So if you want to go to the height you want to go, you must be willing to sacrifice something. Nothing goes for nothing, right? So that's the eighth step. The ninth step is you have to see yourself in possession of the future that you want. You have to be able to see yourself. You see, visioning is one of the most amazing things that you can ever imagine. So you have to be able to sit down and see yourself in that light. You have to be able to visually see it. I remember when I got this office space, right? When I got the office space, the first thing I did was I got someone to help me visualize, to help me just take measurements and draw what the office would look like. And when I saw it, I was excited. It added a lot of energy to me, and I was like, oh yes. And I started working hard to see how I could make the office come to be, right? And honestly, right now, I'm super excited and I'm super happy how the office has turned out. And a lot of people that have come in, for my coaching clients, my consulting clients that have come in to check the office, they're like, oh wow, it's amazing. We can't believe that you've been able to, make it how it is in this short time. Why? Because I was able to vision it. So what is the future that you want? You should be able to vision that future. You should be able to see it in your mind's eye. Anytime you close your eyes, you should be able to see it, right? So that's it. So the last step, right? The last step, and the honest truth is that this last step, I think, is the most important step of all, is for you to celebrate victories along the way. Now, a lot of us were chasing, we're moving, we're grinding, we're on that grind, trying to hustle, trying to make things happen. But you see, the problem is this, right? The problem is this. Most times, what tends to happen is that we burn out, we become depressed because we're not seeing the results of what we get, of all the work that we're putting in. But the honest truth is that most times things take time. And our brain, the natural tendency, the human brain is incapable of identifying success. So even if you are successful, have you ever been in a situation whereby you're successful, you got what you wanted, but all of a sudden it seems like, oh, is this all it is? It's because the brain is incapable of realizing or identifying or noticing success. Instead, the brain is wired to notice and identify progress. So what does that mean? What it means is that instead of you to be, until I get there. And a lot of us, that's what we do. We delay our happiness till we get to one fantasy land, or when we say, oh, till we get there. So you say, I'm not going to be happy until I own my own house. I'm not going to be happy until I'm making 10 billion. You burn out. So the idea is for you to celebrate your victories along the way. The honest truth is, I remember when I first did my first course, when people paid, I was excited. Now, if I do a course, even if I do a course and someone pays me 5,000 naira, I'll be happy. The same way I'll be happy if someone pays me in millions and in six figures. The same thing. I don't I don't separate it, right? Success is success. So some people will be like, oh, I was able to sell I wasn't able to sell my 50,000 naira course, but I was able to sell 10 5,000 naira courses. But I'm not happy because I want to be a six-figure coach or whatever. The honest truth is that you you just kill yourself, right? So enjoy the process, celebrate your success along the way, right? As you go along. And so, this brings us to the final, this is the final episode. I've told you the 10 steps that you can do, but I'll do a quick recap. So have a burning desire, that's one. So step two, when you see an opportunity, you must act. Step three is find your yes. There are going to be a lot of no's, but you need to be able to find your yes, right? And then once you're able to find your yes, don't negotiate with your dream ever. Make sure that you are willing to do what it takes to achieve the greatness that you want. Step five is you need to be creative. Don't say, oh, I can't afford it. Start thinking, how can I afford it? And once you give yourself that question, how, I guarantee you that doors will start to open and you start to see opportunities where there were none. Challenge your old belief. That's step six. You need to be able to challenge yourself and say, okay, you know what? This is a belief that I've held for a long time, but I want to challenge it. Step seven is you need to take the first step. Step eight is the law of sacrifice. Know that, look, for you, you have to give up something for you to get something. And then step nine is see yourself in possession of the future that you want. You need to be able to visualize it. And step 10 is celebrate victories along the way. As you go about and you're celebrating and you're doing the amazing things that you're doing, I want you to know that I believe in your capacity to grow your business and be an amazing person and live an amazing life. Thank you very much, and God bless.